northern Shan State. I was in the 5th grade, maybe 10 or 12 years old. At that time, our city had zero electricity. When the sun dropped around 6 p.m., total darkness swallowed the house. And for 2 years, I was living in that house entirely alone. To survive, I became a salesman before I even knew the word. Mornings were for selling chayote fruits picked from our yard. Afternoons were spent walking the city streets selling popsicles. But the real test wasn't making enough money to eat. The real test started at midnight. April and May in Shan State can be unforgiving. I spent the first 2 weeks in that house crying myself to sleep every night. Every creak of the wood, every whistle of the wind gave me goosebumps. But the worst was the roof. Around midnight, a sound would start. A heavy, thudding noise. It sounded like a body jumping and rolling across the tin. With no adult to rely on, my only defense was 2 long metal swords. I held one in each hand, lying stiff in the dark, too terrified to make a sound. I was convinced a monster was up there, waiting to come down. I spent weeks paralyzed by that midnight rolling, exhausted and afraid. Fear is exhausting. After 2 weeks of sleepless terror, I couldn't take it anymore. One night, I mustered whatever courage a 10-year-old could find. I grabbed a flashlight, gripped both swords tight, and climbed up onto the freezing roof. I sat there in the dark, shivering, waiting to fight whatever was coming. Midnight arrived. The chill wind picked up, and the trees surrounding my house began to shake. First came a tap, then a loud creak. As the wind blew harder, the heavy, jumping sound started again. It sounded huge. I tightened my grip on the swords and shined the torchlight straight at the noise. There it was, an innocent mango branch, heavy with fruit, resting against the roof. Every time the wind blew, the branch swayed and the mangoes rolled across the tin. The stronger the wind, the louder the ghost. I had spent weeks crying in the dark, paralyzed by a monster that didn't exist. All because I didn't have the courage to look at what I was actually afraid of. That night on the roof taught me a permanent lesson. When you hear something terrifying in the dark, go and look at it. Shine a light on it. Once you know exactly what you are dealing with, the fear fades. That habit stuck with me. Of course, I still feel fear when I start something new, but I know how to climb the roof. When COVID hit right as my business was picking up, the market froze in panic. Instead of hiding, I studied the risk and learned to ride the wave. Later, when the political crisis hit Myanmar, a massive wave of uncertainty and fear swept through the business community. We were suddenly operating in a true conflict economy. Many operators froze entirely. But I remembered the mango branch. I shined a light on the exact risks we were facing, studied the landscape, and found a new way forward. By opening a Delaware corporation, we kept our operations secure, legally shielded, and moving forward despite the external chaos. In business, uncertainty is just the sound on the roof. It sounds like a monster when you hide under the blanket. But if you take your torch and look it in the eye, you can always figure out what to do next.